Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nier. Last time you remember we left off, we were, starting off a new world. A whole new world. A fantastic place. So basically, this will be the part 2, the second half of the game. As you saw at the end of the previous video, it started out where we were getting Kaine.
Whenever I interacted with Kaine, I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Here we go.
So we go into another novel segment. These just don't ever seem to end, do they? The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke steamed from the huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly towards the wooden hawk-shaped weather vane in the center of the town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed for as long as any could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with the pale white skin to give the face of an almost sexless quality. If the beak if the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then I. The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on. Come on! The child felt a slight breeze and watched as the vein slowly creaked to life. Spinning this way and that for a moment, it finally settled with the beak pointing firmly to the east. East? Really? Before the vein could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me! A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. "You-hoo, Kaine!" The voice belonged to Dimo, worst of all the bullies in the Isle. As Kaine struggled to stand, the final stone came striking through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from the cut above her eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out shapes of Damo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kaine's seemingly indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. "What's up, freak? You like the rain? You're getting all wet. Or did you finally decide to run away from home?" Though she knew pushing him off and letting him scream to his death was probably futile, Kaine turned and left. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kaine knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormentors' parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to the sensation. She was attuned to the sensation. It was one she had experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of their children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition, fear Kaine was something to be hated, and if possible, destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Domino's words chewed out like a worm through an apple. Shame Nier couldn't just push him off a cliff. But Nier ain't a friend of the doctor. He couldn't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt me. He can't. Oh look! The little freak is going to cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kaine prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from the world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Dimo crept ever closer, the clouds began to thin, and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless, a failure. I wish Domino's rock had taken my head off. Kaine couldn't meet Domino's leaning gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of the old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kaine's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. You're a freak. No, I'm not. Did you just say no? Domino grinned evilly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kaine, he called to his cohorts. Come on, guys, let's give this freak what she deserves. As soon as Domino finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kaine. Domino paused, still grinning as Kaine curled up into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for? Everyone knows what you really are. Kaine ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east as if supremely conflicting about the future it had chosen for. Go home? Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak, chattered the child. Freak, freak, freak. Kaine closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entirely. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned into terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-cracked eye. Kaine was shocked to see Domino sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see blood wailing from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. He's crying. He's actually crying. Deprived of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began to uneasily shuffle away from Kaine. The young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on an ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now I suggest you scale before I throw another. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kaine again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand Domino was using to cover the wound. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ow, he screamed, leaping his bit. Stop it, what are you doing? Quit whining. Ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one. That thing could have killed me. The old woman schlunged. Death is the best cure. Stupid. Domino's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kaine, he took a step back and spat on the ground. Get out! Leave this village. No one wants you healed. You heal. Either of you. Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Domino and his companions turned ran trails like rats. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out a single laugh. Ha! Look at the fat boy go. Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman's smile faded as she turned her attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders, and produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began bolting at the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kaine, she said, why didn't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kaine as she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears held in check for so long finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned to sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, Kaine. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempt the crossing. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor of her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine. You know because you survived it. As words hit home, Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. But with each year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood kicking her face, that Kaine truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kaine's pain, the loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not. Don't be an ass. Kaine drew her grandma's mouth-eaten swirl around her body, in a moth-eaten swirl around her body, and shrugged. But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't. Hush! Interrupted Grandma. I'll not hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter, and I love you, and if folks have a problem with that, they could just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a warmth placed a withered of a dried flowers on Kaine's hair, in Kaine's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal, it was remarkable. The beauty of it made Kaine want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar teals. Grandma, you made this for me? The lunar teals were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one, and yet her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kaine reached up and touched the wither, as if she couldn't believe they were real. Where did you find these? Oh, you know, I just stumbled upon them one day while I was out doing the shopping. The old woman turned away as she was explaining, leading Kaine to suspect that the search has been much more difficult than she's letting on. The pain she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in its construction, made Kaine's heart hard. She reached up gently to adjust it, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out white, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but I'm sure it looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kaine blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Well, Grandma smiled. We're going to be fine, you and me, she said. Long as we got each other, we'll just be fine. Kaine took her grandma's hand in hers, and the two of them snuggled to their feet. Struggled to their feet. As they, it's early in the morning. Don't mind me being a blithering idiot. Oh. As they began the long walk to home, Kaine gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain stopped. Kaine stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough. Even if it's us against the world. Kaine let her gaze drift up past the vane and into the cloudy sky. The last faint hits of rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed for home, the light scattering into the million particles had vanished, seemingly taken away by the breeze. In the distance, Kaine heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces for every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandonment. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die from frustration before the job was done. Stupid piece of shit axe. Kaine's grandmother flailed around with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and boards that would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, called Kaine. What? Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kaine. Don't get too close or I might take your foot off by mistake. She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kaine's close enough for her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she scuffled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, Grandma, do you need help? I can get water or lunch or a new axe or something. The axe, poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment, then smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss-poor job chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can get the water? Shades have been restless lately, you know, and I don't want you running into one of them bastards. Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either side. Gathering water was by far one of the more difficult of the two jobs, but Kai knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kai did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kai knew the real reason. She didn't want her grandma to be taunted or hassled by the villagers. Once Kai moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the Isle. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her grandmother. Where were the days when any but two of them could be found on the rocky arc of land they called home? Connie enjoyed this solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Connie turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swinging after swinging of the axe produced only tiny cracks in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect this with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Connie swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Damn it, ah, crap. She suddenly understood the joy her grandma felt in a good cause. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with a blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. This is tough. My logs are all weird sizes. Splitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Connie redoubled her efforts. Just as she developed a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Sitting down her buckets with a small sigh as she took one look at the logs and coughed out a wheezy laugh. Pretty clumsy, girl. You better practice if you... Grandma suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble fiercely. Eyes wide, Connie dropped the axe and ran to her grandma's side. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a troubling finger at the bucket. I'm gonna take a drink real quick. Get the bucket. Can't let it spill. Connie studied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water swooshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Connie didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and battled Connie away. Stop that! Just stop now! She cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying. I'm just tired from the trip is all. Connie desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman, shaking hands and worn face, told her more than words could ever. Her grandma had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. The time when old grandmother watched over Connie was ending. Soon than either of them had feared. The next morning, Kaine came to the side of Grandma's bed and took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you're sick. You need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old woman shook her head and tried to raise, but Kaine gently pushed her down. It's all right, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed with a gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, but I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. The old woman watched as Kaine strapped on her boots and made her way to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across the dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kaine moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Domino and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors or shades. Kaine finally found herself at the entrance of the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before sulking away in the shadows. Her heart racing, Kaine took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on the rooted old woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling everyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kaine's presence. Hey lady, said Kaine with a bravado she did not feel. Where's the hospital? The woman's flappy cheeks struck in bewildered anguish. How dare this thing speak to me? They seemed to say, but Kaine saw that her eyes held a different emotion. Feel. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kaine repeated. The woman pointed at a small building to her right before hitching her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kaine quidged, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride that she made her way to the hospital. But the new emotion had little time to take root. As soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Domino. He clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand, because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my, he spouted. What are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force, and Kaine happily ignored it. Stretching on tippy toes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for medication. Ha! Buck. That old bitch finally kneeled over. Go to hell, Domino. The boy's eyes grew wide. They seemed ready to fall out of his head. But before he could let it fly, before he could let it fly a comeback, or worse, a punch, the hospital told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Sulked out of the shop, coursing Kaine under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written on them in some indecipherable language. An ocean of words assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was erotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kaine a sense of peace. Surely in a world so vast there would be a place that she could call home. On the far wall beyond the counter rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but time has worked its magic and they began to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You like that picture? Kaine turned and found the hospital with a small vial of medicine in hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her went into nothing as he spoke. That's my daughter. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now. Kaine didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper. They let the ones closest to you live on forever. He shook his head slightly and looked down at Kaine and smiled. Handing her the medicine, he reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. You should have these. There's no one left that I wish to draw. Kaine took the incentive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I heard the rumors about you, he said. It's a small village and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I knew your grandmother Not trying. Well, I guess I already did try, didn't I? And I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandma's name? I thought Grandma's name is Cal? I thought Kylie silently. She was still mulling over the new fact over her mind as she reached out and gently took the crayons from the shopkeeper. Your grandmother was an old friend of mine, he said as Kaine scooted away yet again, and I owe her much. I'm willing to wager that she would like it if you drew a picture of her. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Kaine muttered in quiet agreement. But inside her heart was busting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost impeccable step, but it was a step nevertheless. With enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the